Hello everybody, my name is Josh. I would like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we discuss books, both new and old. I'll share with you pictures of my cats who will make you wish they were your cats, and I'll drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. This is a new mug. Very cutesy. And on the inside, when it's empty, it says like creepy cat or something like that. And I'm drinking a fancy coffee today, compliments of my wife. It is an iced coconut coffee. It's pretty good. I'm here with my next weekly wrap-up. This is for the 19th through the 26th. Now I'm filming this on the 26th because I have a busy week coming up, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to film. So there is a book or two that I fully intend to finish today, but I'm not including them in this wrap-up, but I will briefly touch on them at the end. So, for this week, I finished 6 books. That's 4 physical books, 1 audiobook, and 1 ebook. So let's just go on and get into it. The very first one on the list is Michael McBride's Unidentified. This is just a prime example of how effective a novella can be. Unidentified is maybe 130 pages or so, and it is tense and taut from page 1 all the way up through that final page. And that is, as a writer myself, that is something that is very difficult to do, and most writers will tell you that. The novella is just so hard to pin down. Being stuck in the middle of a full-blown novel and a short story, it can be really difficult to still get that character development in there, keep the tension up, keep your readers engaged and focused on the story, and give enough story within that time frame that they don't just come away saying, well, this could have been a short story and it would have been fine. So, really difficult thing to do, and Michael McBride does it so well here. This is obviously based on the cover and based on the title. You could probably guess. This is horror revolving around alien abduction. Fantastic read. I loved it. I knew as soon as I got the first 10 pages in that this was going to be awesome, and it was. Again, just such a shining example of what can be done in the short little time frame that you are given in writing a novella, and this is just, it's an absolutely incredible example. I highly encourage you all to pick it up. Again, it's a short read, it's a quick one, and it's fantastic. Very tense, very atmospheric, and you're gonna love it. Book number 2 for the week was J.M. Barrie with Peter Pan. Now, I would venture to guess that near on everyone knows the story of Peter Pan and has consumed it in media in some way, whether it's through various movies, through various retellings, but a lot of us have not experienced the original story. And so I finally decided that this was a chance for me to do so with this lovely edition here. Someone else mentioned in their Goodreads review that after reading it they realized they loved the concept and the idea of Peter Pan more than they did the actual story, and that they kind of wish they hadn't read the actual story itself. And I can kind of understand that in a way. It's not that it was a bad read. I gave it 3.5, maybe 4 stars, but I think closer to 3.5. It's quite a bit darker than you would anticipate for a children's story. Peter is just an awful person from start to finish. There's some pretty blatant examples of racism and sexism throughout, which, you know, that's part of the times, I guess you could argue, but be that as it may, it's still there, and considering that this is a story that people share with their children, maybe not such a good thing nowadays. My wife wanted to pick it up after this, and I said, you know, if you want to keep that lovely Disney image in your head, then this might not be something that you want to pick up, because no one here is particularly innocent. Like I said, there's death and dismemberment from from the 30-page mark, I think. So, uh, not quite what I was expecting. I thought it was not necessarily more whimsical, but there's just there's an extra layer there of something that prevented me from fully falling into the story, and I don't know what it was. But there were times where it was very lovely, and then other times where I felt that it meandered almost, which is weird to say for such a short little story, because it's only like 150 pages. But 3.5 or so, and I think it's right. I think the idea behind Peter Pan and the concepts that it represents, I think that's the reason that there have been so many movies, so many retellings, and that the story has continued. Not because of the original story, but because of the ideas that the story presented and what you could do with them. So I get it now. I understand. I will still be keeping my copy because that's a lovely copy, and it's something that I will revisit in the future just to kind of digest and think about as I grow older and as I mature. Alright, number 3 was my audiobook of the week. This is John Passarella with Halloween. And this was fantastic. It had no business being as good as it is. Now, this is from the movie that came out in 2018, I think it was. So certainly not the newest Halloween, one of the newer Halloweens. And again, I went into this with very low expectations, and John Passarella really impressed me. I think this would be a great way to get someone into the franchise, or even into the sort of slasher genre, if they are not already into it. This is one that I kind of want to give Paige in the future because I think that it would be a great one. It's, again, the tension is there. The story is really well done, and it's a great book all around. So this was another 5-star for me, and this is one that, again, I don't have a physical copy, but I will be getting a physical copy because I want to revisit it again in the future, as well as share it with others. Book number 4 is one that has been highly anticipated for me for a long while. This is Richard Chizmar with Becoming the Boogeyman. Now, I've heard some criticism on this one that it was more of the same, if you will. That some people said, they almost couldn't differentiate between where the story started here and where it ended in the first one. But I kind of think that was the point. This was almost a direct continuation of the first book. So I'm not going to get into details, of course, because there are still people out there that haven't read Chasing the Boogeyman, but know that, I would argue that if you enjoy Chasing the Boogeyman, then you're going to enjoy Becoming the Boogeyman, because it is more of the same. I appreciate Richard's way of writing. Some of it is real, some of it is not. He takes little elements and nods to, people we know and love. And I think it's a great little horror / crime novel throughout. I couldn't find fault in it, honestly. I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a worthy sequel to Chasing the Boogeyman. So another 5 stars there. This one was not a 5-star. It was, however, a very interesting read. This is Robert Sloane with A Nice Place to Live. And I picked this up on eBay a while ago for a couple bucks. It sounded like a pretty typical setup. A couple move into a new little community in a new house, and some things are off. Very early on, their dog is killed, which unfortunately was kind of a continuing trope in horror, especially in the 80s, which is when this came out. So the dog is killed in a horrific way, and some of the neighbors are very odd and off-putting. There's some things that are definitely not kosher in this place. This book surprised me, though, in that there were parts that were just so difficult to get through because the writing was so schlocky and bad, and then other parts that really surprised me and how enjoyable they were. So this is one of those that I gave it 3.5 stars, but I think it was actually more enjoyable to read than that. It's just the level of writing wasn't necessarily there at all times. Almost like the book Carnivore by Lee Clark, I think it is. This was like a 3-star read, maybe 3.5, because the writing was not great, but it's just a very entertaining book, and that's kind of how this one is. The mystery of what's going on here did honestly surprise me. I did not expect it to be about what it ends up being about. So that one, I think, gave it a little boost in rating. And this is one that if you can pick it up for a few bucks, I think it's worth it. I will be keeping it. I will be reading it again in the future. It's not the greatest, but it will surprise you in certain ways. And there is some really witty and entertaining dialogue in here as well as a monster that we don't typically see much of. So 3.5 there. Pretty decent considering that I didn't really expect anything of it. And then the final book of the week, if I don't drop it, the final book of the week is Josh Winning with The Shadow Glass. This is one that I've wanted to read since before it came out, and I kind of forgot that this was his debut, which was really impressive. This is a fantastic book. It's another 5-star. This is about a man who goes back to his father's house after his father dies. His father was known as the man who created this film called The Shadow Glass. Think a la Dark Crystal, Never-Ending Story, that sort of thing, where they're puppets, but it's very dark, even though it's for children and that sort of thing. So he goes back to his father's house. He's had some sort of falling out in the past with him, and not long after getting there, he goes up to one of the rooms and realizes that the puppets that were used in this film are alive. And that's really all you need to know. Basically, if that intrigues you, pick up the book. Very well done. And again, considering that this was his debut, I mean, that's just incredible what he was able to accomplish here. Now he has a couple more out now. He has Burn the Negative that just came out, which I really want to read and Paige really wants to read. And then he's just announced a book coming out next year. I can't remember the title right now, but I'll put it up here. And there is a description on Goodreads that sounded really great. But if this is what he can do in a debut novel, then I certainly want to pick up those books as well. So, yeah, there you go. That's it's 6 reads this week. Now, by the time you are watching this video, I will probably have finished F.T. Lucan's Spellbound with this beautiful cover here. This is another one that belongs to my sibling Shy that I need to return and just haven't done so yet. So I need to finish that up and get those books sent out. I'm also still reading Legacies. I need to finish that up this week. I'll be honest. This kind of just got tossed to the wayside when I picked up Shadow Glass and then jumped into Spellbound because I knew that I was on a time crunch to get those taken care of. But I do intend to finish both of those, and then there's an ebook I'm on that I need to wrap up before the end of the month. But that will cover this. I will be back on here in a few days with my December TBR because somehow it's already December, so woo. But yeah, that will do it for today. So I hope you all stay safe, have a great week, and most importantly, drink great coffee. Cheers.